G'day everyone, welcome back to the channel. Turbo Tristan here. In today's video, we are still doing heaps and heaps of stuff to the Evo. We've still got to put on all of this gear. We've got our brand new wheel bearings. We've got the engine on an engine stand. Now, I briefly touched on this last episode. I joked at the very first episode that this was Project Crankwalk, and I was not wrong. This car has a little bit of crankwalk, and you can see that when you push on the crank, it moves side to side. So today I'm going to clean up the engine, degrease everything properly. I've got this special chemical that's industrial oven cleaner. So I've gone above and beyond the next step after the spray on easy off BAM oven cleaner. I've got this industrial stuff they use in fish and chip shops, restaurants to clean all the range hoods. So I use that on all my projects. If anyone's interested, I'll show you the bottle, what it's called, in a little while. But I'm going to take this outside, let it soak in, and then pressure wash it all. And of course, I'll be very careful to not get any water in the top or in any of the intake or exhaust ports. We're going to give everything a full-on degrease, and then I can start to pull the bottom apart, check all the bearings, measure the crank, check the crank, see if the crank needs any machining. Fingers crossed it doesn't. And it's just a matter of some fresh bearings that might be slightly oversized or undersized to allow for that crankwalk, or some new thrust washers or thrust bearings. We won't know until we pull it all apart. So let's snap to it and I'll show you what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, how I'm doing it. Alrighty, so I'm just about to apply the degreaser or the oven cleaner. If anyone's wondering, this is what it is. This stuff is super caustic alkaline cleaner. So it's the exact opposite to acid, but it still peels your skin off and your fingerprints off. So don't get it on your skin anywhere near you. Wash it off with water as quick as possible. When I do it, I run about 2/3 of the solution to 1/3 water. Depending on what it is that you're cleaning, an engine block, it doesn't really matter, but if you're cleaning anything with paint or whatever, it doesn't take paint off. But I would just thin it out a little bit extra. So I'm going to chuck some gloves on, and we're going to stick this stuff all over there, let it soak for about 10 to 15 minutes, which is probably a bit too long. Any longer than that starts to dry, so you don't want that. Just keep it all wet. And then I'm going to pressure wash it off, and hopefully we should have a nice clean motor. All of these pulleys and belts I'm going to change anyway, so I'm not worried about spraying this very nasty stuff all over them. It's all in the technique. People worry about pressure washing things, but if you don't blast directly in the spot where you don't want it to go, like if you blast, say you don't want to blast in the ports, you blast there, not there, then it's not going to hurt anything. A little bit of moisture or damp is not going to hurt anything. You just don't want to fill things up completely with water. I'm going to run the hose through there as well. And yes, I will cover all of this up. Definitely don't want to pressure wash in there. All those hydraulic lifters, not good for them. I'm going to shove something in there. I don't want to fill the sump up with oil or water, sorry. Got a new water pump to go on, all new tensioners. New crank angle angle sensor. Everything's going to be replaced on here, guys, so don't worry too much about that. And the sump is going to come off, so I will still clean all that out. It's spraying back in my face. Have to go wash my face, guys. This stuff is really bad for you. Do it in a well ventilated spot, outside preferably, and try not to get any on your skin. I'm done, I'm getting itchy. I'll come back in 10 minutes and wash that off. The engine's all cleaned up now, and I'm pretty happy with how it's looking. So you can see down here, we're going to need to paint over that with the KBS. I want to wire wheel off where the engine numbers are and just clean that all up. But all of the grease and oil are gone. Without pulling the head and hot tanking it and rebuilding the whole head, which we definitely don't want to do. The budget is getting way out of control. That's now cleaned up, so that's all good. We've got some new cam sensors from PAT to go in there. New thermostat, all of this stuff is going to be all new and clean. New remain seal, and we've got all new belts, pulleys, sensors, bearings, everything in a water pump to go on here for the timing. We've got new sensors to go on the engine as well, so water temp and stuff. There's another one down here, so I think that one's oil pressure. We've got water temp. We've got a knock sensor down behind here. We've got the crank angle sensor. Sorry, we've got the cam angle sensor and the crank angle sensor down there. Pretty interesting because this runs a wasted spark sort of system factory. We've just got the 2 reference points for the cam angle. The Haltech can run, I'm not sure how many, I think it's like 36 or something like that, maybe 24 points. So if things did get very, very serious, we could change that out and run a different hole sensor. But otherwise, we're just going to keep it all nice and simple. I was going to take this off and KBS it and everything, but it's actually in pretty good nick, seeing as it's been kept out of the weather and sunlight and everything over the years. So I'm just going to leave that where it is. Best not mess with things if you don't have to. For those of you wondering about the Crankwalk, how bad it is and what Crankwalk is, this is Crankwalk. Now it's not bad, it's not huge. I think all cranks do this to a very small degree, but we're just going to throw some bearings in this anyway to take that slack out. You can hear it and feel it, so that's a good sign that it's not a good sign. Alrighty guys, quite a bit of time has passed. I have whipped off everything on the engine, cleaned out the sump. I've still got to go and finish cleaning off the gasket, but it's all free of oil. I haven't yet taken off the rod bearings, but you can see here, and you can hear it, the Crankwalk, and there's a little bit of side to side on these two. I haven't spun it all the way around yet, but everything's been cleaned. And I'm getting ready to pull those off and check out the bearings. But one thing that I just thought I'd show you guys is, so the oil pump gasket, the reason why it's so much later and it's almost dark now is the oil pump gasket was such a bitch to get off. So I ended up using the little blue scrubby wheel on the drill and just lightly went over it until it was all gone. Cleaned up all the surfaces. I assure you, even though it looks like I've polished it, it's still perfectly flat. So that's all clean. And same with the oil filter housing. On this side, the gasket was just jammed on. So because I was using the wire wheel or the little blue scrubber wheel on the drill, blue stuff went everywhere. It's probably all over my face. I don't know, I can't see. I had to pull everything apart I've measured up to replace the oil seals here and here. I do have a new front crank seal anyway, but I don't know about these two guys. So that's all been pulled apart and cleaned. And I've taken apart all the spring for the pressure spring for the oil pump. The thermostat's all been cleaned. Cleaned up the gears for the drive here, the balance shaft drive. What do you guys reckon? Balance shaft delete or not? I don't, like, it's going to help the car rev. It's going to make it vibrate a lot. We're not going for huge power here. We're going for OEM plus a bit, not plus plus. Let's go race Koval and you know, think we've got a chance plus. We just want to go just a little bit above what the factory is, make it a really nice streeter. So in my mind, we keep these. Also, in my budget, we keep these. If you guys reckon there's a real reason why we should change these balance shafts out and get rid of them, let me know in the comments below and we'll try and get a hookup on some. Just come back out to the shed and I've pulled off the girdle or the main cap bearings. And already I can tell you that this was a fantastic idea. We've got some marks there, some weird uneven marks on this one. This one's totally through to a whole different kind of material in the bearing. That one's, yeah, whatever. And this one is not bad. So you can see the tops there are all worn really weird except for the end one. Let's flip it over. Same on the other side, but this one's got the wear on there as well, like all the others. So, good thing we are pulling out the crank. Now the crank itself doesn't look too bad. I can't see really any bad nasty marks on there. So I'm very happy with that. So this is going to be just a matter of cleaning up and measuring the crank. The engine is now all pulled down from the crank and the bottom end. Inside the rods all look pretty good. So does the crank journals. They look fantastic as well. Over here we have rod bearings, and you can see, for whatever reason, maybe an engine builder can tell me in the comments, the top of the rod, so the one closest to the pistons, is much more worn on every single one. So here, here, there, and there. This one, if you catch it in the light, it's actually quite a way down. Same with this one, and again with the first one. Over to the other side, so the top of the rod caps. This one, pretty rainbow. Not too bad. And then we'll get to the thrust in a moment. Second last one. And the last one, so not horrible. Now this one here is the top side of the thrust bearing. And you can see there we are right through the outer material. You can see there's a little bit of it left there, but the rest of it here is smashed away. One side not so bad, so that tells me that the clutch side, which would be this side, is copping all the back and forth. Same goes on the other side once we have it out, and you can see it's all the way through to the copper there, or the brass. And the other side, which faces the front of the engine, not too bad. So we've definitely got Crankwalk. So we're definitely going to fix it. Now I need to figure out how to measure this correctly and accurately so I can order the right bearings, and how I am going to prevent Crankwalk in the future. Whether it's just a matter of a fresh set of bearings, or whether it's some bearings to suit a later model 4G, or whether or not there's some kind of upgrade that make them a bit thicker or something so it can't slap backwards and forwards. I don't know. I'm going to go talk to Baz, the 4G king, and just see what he recommends. He is the guru after all, so I'll throw his Facebook just up here. Go like his page, and if you have an Evo and you have any questions or you want to get some work done, hit up Baz. And if you need any fabrication done, Matty from Next Level Fabrications is also on site as well to do all your fabricating. So hit the boys up, get your work done, and I'm going to hit them up and I'm going to find out what I need to do to fix this issue over here. I do have some beefy rods for it, so I'm going to take a look at the bores and see how they are. We did do a compression test recently and they were all pretty close to each other. There was a bit of a variance of about 10 PSI on one of the cylinders, but everything else was pretty well sweet. So Baz said that's fine, gave it the go ahead, so we're all good to go there. So yeah, it's just a matter of finding out what size bearings I need to order and putting it all back together. But I do have a set of rods if we need to build the engine. They are much thicker than the ones that are in there, and they're from MAXPEEDINGRODS. They're about double the thickness of those ones. So if we need them, we've got them. So I did a thing on the Evo and I fitted up the front mount intercooler. This is a 600/376, your standard type front mount intercooler. It's not fully mounted, as you can see. And I've already ordered a new one locally, which is going to be around 10 centimeters shorter. This is a 600. I've got a 500 coming, so it'll be about there to there, which will move the end tanks in further, which will mean I'll be able to get a bend in there and some pipe without affecting the fog lights or anything like that. Sneak in there nicer. And also there'll be a little bit of a gap here which will let air into the radiator around the intercooler, even though when we're moving this is going to let plenty of air through, cool the radiator and the aircon condenser, so we're not too worried about that, but every little bit helps. So this one is going to go on Marketplace and hopefully it should pay for the one that I just bought. Although it does look pretty cool in there, and we could definitely make it work with some really custom intercooler pipes, or customizing the end tank, put a bit of a kink in there like so, or I'm going with the smaller one. The factory intercooler is around 50 mil thick, so about 2 inches, 2 and a little bit. It's 47 long on the core and it's 300 high. So the 300 high, we've got tons of room. We're going just a little bit bigger than factory as far as the core width. Yeah, we're going an extra 30 mil or 1.5 inches longer on the intercooler. Plus it's a bar and plate cooler and it's brand new. It's not full of oil and all sorts of stuff that's been in intercoolers for the last 27 years. Bar and plate cools better because it slows the air down, and yeah, it's just a much better thing for a street car, I believe. And as soon as I get the bolts and stuff back from Baz, I can put the guards back on, finish buttoning up most of the stuff in the engine bay. The engine is just chilling here for the moment because I've got to measure the crank up and get that looked at and order the right bearings. I'm going to probably see if I can do it by dropping it off to the machine shop that built my last engine for the VL. Get them to measure it and order the exact right bearings and see if we can do something about the crankwalk, just to go a little bit fatter on the sides maybe, if that's even an option. Anyway, I'm going to go to where I store my K-swapped turbo Civic and I'm going to start that up and take it for a little bit of a drive. So I'll bring you guys along for that. Most of you new subscribers, we've had about 5,000 subscribers in the last 3 months, which is the most my channel's ever grown. So you probably haven't even seen my K-swap turbo Civic, which is what I built the whole channel on. Alrighty guys, so if you're new to the channel, this is the reason why most of you guys are here. This is my 99 Civic sedan, 5-stud converted, S2000 seats, all the suspension work's done. We've got ZESTINO tyres, nice and sticky Enki wheels, and a fluoro engine bay with a K24 turbo on 12.5 PSI, and this thing is making around 280 kilowatts at the wheels. It hasn't been driven since I took it to the track last time, There's a video of me scaring the crap out of myself at Sandown Raceway. But today I'm just going to take it for a drive. It hasn't been moved or driven in about 2 months. So jump in and we'll go for a drive. Now inside with all the rattles and vibrations, we are actually controlled by a Haltech Elite 1500 with an IC7 dash. Definitely my favourite part of the car. I do need to tweak it a little bit. There's a few updates now available since this has been in storage. We've got the ECU up under the dash with not much else. So I'm going to strap you guys in up here on the windscreen. I'm just going to go warm up the car, charge the battery, and blow out the injectors, slosh all the fuel around, and see how she drives. It's been a while and I haven't driven a manual for about 1 month. So as you can hear and feel, it's pretty rattly and vibrating. This thing needs a full spanner check, and I need to reseal up the gearbox. It was leaking a bit of gear oil last time. Hopefully we don't blow a gearbox, but I don't think we lost that much oil. Just a little bit. I do want to pull it apart and put an LSD in it anyway, so it's a good excuse to do that, or all-wheel drive the car. I haven't decided. And another thing that I've been thinking about is pulling the turbo off and going a big power NA build. Is that manual skill? Yeah, I'm thinking big cams, LSD, ratio change in the box, and yeah, just run an NA on E85. See how that goes. Through the brakes, having almost 300 kilowatts or about that once the boost creeps a little bit. So I don't know, what do you think? Should I NA build this and do a race car, take it off the road, cage it, do the whole thing? I've been watching a lot of GLTC over in the States and it's been pumping me up to build a race car, but I've already kind of got one, so I don't know what to do. Car is pretty cool though. Oh, we're getting a bit of smoke out the back, so the gearbox is leaking on the exhaust. Turbo sounds awesome though, it'd be hard to get rid of that. But I do have other turbo cars, so there's that as well. Still Turbo Tristan at the end of the day. It would be cool. High revving, NA build, bucket seats, fully stripped interior with a cage at the track, LSD. I think it'd be faster around the track because I wouldn't have to lift off so much. I could be more on the gas. Subscribe, because I know, as always, you hear this a lot, but for whatever reason 80% of the people watching most people's videos aren't subscribed, so subscribe.